The ring light glared into my eyes, but I didn't blink. I could see the viewer count ticking steadily upwards in the corner of the monitor. 1,500, 1,800, 2,300. Across the small desk from me, my husband, David, was beaming, his perfectly white teeth catching the light. He had just finished a 5-minute monologue about the importance of trust and transparency in a marriage, positioning us as the ultimate couple goals for his growing legion of followers. He was a self-styled financial guru, and our picture-perfect life was his primary marketing tool. He had no idea that the stack of papers in my lap, just out of the camera's view, was a grenade with the pin already pulled. He was completely unaware that I was about to expose him for draining our entire joint savings account. Every single cent of the $127,450 we had saved to buy his parents a brand new house. He smiled at me, a warm, practiced smile for the camera. "Isn't that right, honey?" Communication is everything. The comment section was flooded with heart emojis and praise. I gave a small, tight smile back. My heart was a block of ice in my chest. He genuinely didn't see it coming. He thought I was just the quiet, supportive wife, the silent partner in his grand performance. He thought the fight we had last night was over, that I had simply accepted his unilateral decision to gut our future. He was wrong. I was done being silent. I was done being a supporting character in the story of his life. You're probably wondering why I would choose to humiliate my own husband in front of thousands of people, why I would air our dirty laundry on a live stream for the whole world to see. The answer is simple, because for him, his public image is the only thing that has ever mattered. For years, my voice was ignored in private, my feelings dismissed, my contributions taken for granted. So I decided to speak up in the only arena he would ever truly listen, the court of public opinion. He wanted to be a famous influencer? Fine. I was about to make him infamous. To understand how it came to this single, calculated act of destruction, you have to understand the foundation of lies our marriage was built upon. When I first met David in college, he was magnetic. He had this incredible energy, a clear vision for his future that pulled everyone into his orbit. He wanted to be successful, to build something substantial, and I was drawn to that ambition. We started dating, and soon we were inseparable, weaving our dreams together. The biggest dream was our house. Not just any house, but a home we would build our life in, brick by brick. After we got married, we opened a joint savings account. It was a sacred thing to me. Every payday, we'd sit down together and transfer a significant portion of our earnings into it. I was a registered nurse, working long, grueling 12-hour shifts, often picking up overtime on weekends and holidays. Every extra dollar I earned, every little bonus, went straight into that account. I packed my own lunches, mended my own clothes, and skipped nights out with my friends, all for that shared goal. It was our future fund, a tangible symbol of our partnership. The balance grew slowly at first, then faster, a testament to our discipline and shared sacrifice. Or so I thought. His family, however, was another story. His parents, Mark and Susan, worshipped the ground David walked on. He was their golden child, the son who could do no wrong. He had a good job in finance, a pretty wife, and a clear path to success. They would parade him around at family gatherings, listing his accomplishments as if they were their own. Then there was his younger brother, Leo. Leo was the designated family scapegoat. Nothing he ever did was good enough. He'd tried starting a few small businesses that didn't take off. He'd changed jobs a couple of times, and in his parents' eyes, he was a perpetual failure. They spoke of him with a mixture of pity and contempt, always comparing him unfavorably to David. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" was a phrase Leo had probably heard 1,000 times. From the beginning, I was welcomed into the family not as a daughter, but as an accessory to David's success. I was David's wife, the nurse. My demanding career was framed as a useful support system for David's ambitions. My income wasn't our income, it was a helpful supplement to his journey. They were never overtly cruel, but there was a constant, subtle condescension. They would give me backhanded compliments about how hard I must work, always with a glance at David, the real star of the show. I was a means to an end. The person who would help their perfect son achieve the perfect life they had always envisioned for him. I didn't realize at the time that my role as a useful tool would soon make me a target. It started about 6 months ago. The phone calls from his mother, Susan, became more frequent, and each one left David with a dark cloud hanging over his head. The topic was always the same: their house. It wasn't that the house was falling down, it was a solid, middle-class home they had lived in for 40 years. But suddenly, it was an unbearable burden. The complaints were endless and escalating. One week, it was the ancient plumbing that was sure to burst at any moment. The next, it was the terrible draft that made the winters unbearable for their old bones. Then, it was the stairs. "My knees just can't take these stairs anymore, David," his mother would sigh dramatically over the phone. Every minor inconvenience was magnified into a catastrophe that only their perfect son could solve. Naturally, the question of their other son, Leo, came up. I asked David once, "What about Leo? Could he help them look for a contractor, or maybe help with some of the yard work?" David just shook his head, a look of pity on his face that was a perfect mirror of his parents. "Anna, you know Leo. He means well, but he's got enough problems of his own. We can't put this on him. He's not in a position to help." And just like that, the scapegoat was dismissed. The entire weight of his parents' newfound misery was placed squarely on David's shoulders, and he accepted it without question. It was his duty, his burden to bear as the successful son. They had invested their pride in him, and now it was time for him to pay dividends. The subtle hints soon turned into a full-blown pressure campaign. They weren't talking about repairs anymore. Susan started sending David listings for brand-new single-story homes in a posh retirement community an hour away. "Wouldn't this be nice, dear?" she'd say. "Just imagine your father and me, safe and comfortable in our golden years." They weren't asking for help. They were presenting him with a bill for their emotional satisfaction. I saw the trap immediately. I suggested practical solutions. "We could help them pay for a stair lift," I offered. "Or we could find a good plumber and electrician to modernize the place. It would be a fraction of the cost." David would just wave his hand dismissively. "That's just patching a sinking ship, Anna. You don't understand. They need a fresh start." A cold dread began to creep into my heart. He wasn't listening to me. He was only hearing his mother's voice. The we in our marriage was starting to feel very one-sided. One evening, after a particularly long call with his father, he turned to me, his face grim. "We need to talk about the savings account. We need to talk about the savings account." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and toxic. I knew exactly what was coming. I set down my book and looked at him. "What about it, David?" He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "I think we should use it to buy Mom and Dad a new house. The one they liked in the retirement community is on the market. We can afford it. We can make the money back." He said it so simply, as if he were suggesting we change internet providers. He was talking about liquidating over a decade of our shared effort, my grueling overtime shifts, our entire future, with the casualness of ordering a pizza. I felt a cold fury rise inside me, but I kept my voice even. "No," I said. "Absolutely not." I laid out my case calmly and logically. "David, that money is for us. It's the down payment for the house we've been planning for years, the one near the good school district. It's for the family we wanted to start. It's for our future, not theirs." I reminded him of the sacrifices, of my exhaustion after a string of night shifts, of the vacations we skipped. I offered compromises. "We can give them $10,000 as a gift to help with renovations. They can sell their current house and use the equity. We can co-sign a small loan for them if they need it. But we are not giving them our entire life savings." He just stared at me, his jaw tight with anger. His response was pure, emotional blackmail. "So that's it? Your dream house is more important than my parents' health and safety? I can't believe you're being so selfish." The word selfish hit me like a slap. Me, who had poured my lifeblood into that account for us. "It's not selfish, David. It's about our partnership. They are not destitute. They have options. Why does their comfort have to come at the complete destruction of our plans?" But he wasn't interested in a partnership. He was interested in obedience. "They are my parents, Anna. End of discussion." The argument went in circles for an hour before I finally ended it. "My answer is no. It's half my money, and I do not consent." He stormed out of the room, and for the next 2 weeks, an icy silence descended on our home. He didn't bring it up again, and in my naive hope, I thought I had won. I thought he had respected my decision. Then came the day the credit card bill was due. I logged into our joint savings account to transfer the money, and my world stopped. The balance, which should have been over $127,000, was $214.37. My hands started to shake. I scrolled down the transaction history, my heart pounding in my ears. And there it was, dated 3 days after our fight. A single wire transfer. Amount, 120,450 Chernosaurus. Destination, Mark and Susan Miller. The memo line contained 2 words that felt like a death sentence. Family gift. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the screen. The numbers blurred. The air in the room felt thick and heavy, like I was breathing water. It wasn't just money, it was time. It was my aching back after a 16-hour shift. It was every holiday I worked, every plan I'd put on hold. He hadn't just stolen our savings, he had stolen years of my life. The shock slowly solidified into a cold, hard resolve. There were no tears. Tears were a luxury I couldn't afford right now. I clicked print. The single page slid out of the printer, a black and white testament to his betrayal. I placed it in the center of the kitchen table and waited. David came home a few hours later, whistling. He dropped his keys in the bowl by the door and walked in, loosening his tie. "You would not believe the engagement I got on my post today," he started, beaming. "We hit 10,000 followers. We should do something to celebrate." He stopped when he saw my face. He saw the stillness, the rigid set of my shoulders, and he saw the single piece of paper on the table between us. His smile faltered. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. I simply pushed the bank statement towards him. "Explain this." He glanced down at it, his eyes scanning the damning figures. He had the audacity to look annoyed, not guilty. "Oh, so you saw that." He sighed, running a hand through his hair as if I were the inconvenience. "Look, Anna, I did what had to be done. It's for my parents. It's family." The casual dismissal, the utter lack of remorse, sent a chill through my bones. "You did what had to be done?" I repeated, my voice dangerously low. "You stole my money, David. You stole our money after I explicitly told you no." That's when he tried to twist it. He leaned forward, attempting a look of sincerity that now seemed grotesque. "Come on, honey. We discussed it. I knew you were just upset in the moment. I was just handling it for us. It's just money. We can make more. You can pick up some extra shifts. I'll focus on growing the channel and we'll have it back in no time." He was trying to gaslight me, to reframe his grand theft as a responsible executive decision he'd made on my behalf. He was telling me that my no didn't count, that my opinion was just a temporary emotional state he had the right to override. In that moment, looking at the man I thought I knew, I realized I wasn't married to a partner. I was married to a dictator who saw me as nothing more than a resource. And then he said the words that sealed his fate. "Honestly, you should be thanking me. I solved the problem." "Thanking you?" The words came out flat and dead. "David, there is nothing left to thank you for. You haven't solved a problem. You have destroyed our marriage." I stood up from the table, the printed statement still lying there like a tombstone. "I'll be sleeping at my sister's place tonight. First thing tomorrow, I'm calling a lawyer." For the first time, a flicker of genuine panic crossed his face. His arrogance was a shield, but the word lawyer seemed to have found a crack. His control was slipping, and when a golden child feels his perfect world start to shake, he does the only thing he knows how to do. He calls for his mother. He snatched his phone from the counter and dialed. "Mom," he said, his voice suddenly filled with a theatrical desperation. "Mom, you need to talk to Anna. She's completely losing it. She's threatening to divorce me. Yes, over the house money. She's being so unreasonable. Can you please talk some sense into her?" He listened for a moment and then shoved the phone at me. "She wants to talk to you." I took the phone, my hand steady. On the other end, Susan's voice was syrupy sweet, a venomous honey. "Anna, dear," she cooed, "what is all this fuss about? Your father and I are just so incredibly grateful for this beautiful gift. We thought you were happy for us." The deliberate use of "we" and "gift" was designed to corner me, to force my complicity. "Susan," I said, my voice as calm and cold as a surgeon's scalpel. There was no we. David took $127,450 from our joint account without my permission, and after I explicitly told him not to. That isn't a gift, it's theft. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Then the sweetness curdled into cloying condescension. "Now, dear, don't be so dramatic. It's a family matter. Surely you wouldn't let a little bit of money ruin your wonderful marriage. After all David has done for you, don't you think his parents deserve to be comfortable?" That was it. The final confirmation. They were all in on it. They saw me not as a person, but as a bank. My labor, my sacrifices. It was all just their due. They believed they were entitled to the fruits of my work. "I hope you enjoy the new house, Susan," I said, my voice devoid of all emotion. "David's going to need a room there soon." I hung up the phone and placed it gently on the table. David stared at me, dumbfounded. I walked to the bedroom, packed an overnight bag, and walked out the front door without another word. A quiet divorce wasn't enough. They didn't just take my money, they tried to take my voice. And I was about to make sure the whole world heard me scream. My sister Claire opened the door and pulled me into a hug without a word. She saw the bag in my hand and the look on my face, and knew. I spent that first night at her apartment in a state of numb clarity. While David was likely sleeping soundly, convinced of his victory, I was taking back control. My first move, before I even went to sleep, was to go online. Years ago, I had opened a separate high-yield savings account that I never told him about. It was my in-case-of-emergency fund, where I'd squirrel away my annual nursing bonuses and any freelance income I made from medical writing. With a few clicks, I transferred every penny to a brand new account at a different bank under only my name. Step 1, secure my own future. Step 2 began the next morning with a call to the sharpest divorce lawyer I could find. For the next week, I ignored the barrage of texts from David, which ranged from angry demands that I come home to pathetic pleas that I was tearing our family apart. I also ignored the sanctimonious messages from his parents about the importance of forgiveness. Instead, I watched him. I watched his online life. On his Instagram and YouTube channel, it was business as usual. He posted a smiling selfie with the caption, "True strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up every time." Resilience. Mindset. He uploaded a short video about the 5 pillars of financial trust in a relationship. The hypocrisy was so breathtaking, it was almost impressive. He was building his brand, his entire public persona, on a foundation of the very virtues he had just demolished in his own home. His followers adored him, praising his wisdom and integrity. And that's when I knew a quiet divorce would be a miscarriage of justice. In a private legal proceeding, the truth would be buried. He and his family would paint me as the unstable, greedy wife who couldn't handle him supporting his loving parents. He would walk away with his reputation intact, free to continue peddling his lies to an unsuspecting audience, his brand ironically funded by the money he stole from me. They had humiliated me privately, counting on my silence. They had banked on the shame of a failed marriage keeping me quiet. I decided that the only punishment that would truly matter was a public one. The only way to get justice was to destroy the one thing he loved more than money, his image. The idea sparked, brilliant and terrible. I would use his own stage, his own audience, against him. I waited until a Friday afternoon and called him. I pitched my voice to sound weary, remorseful, and defeated. "David," I said softly, "you're right. I'm sorry. I overreacted." I could almost hear the smirk on his face. "I want to come home. I think we should show everyone how strong we are. Why don't we do that live Q&A you wanted to do? About marriage and money. We can tell them we had a disagreement but worked through it. It would be great for the channel." The bait was perfect. His ego, titanic and fragile, couldn't resist. He saw it as his ultimate victory lap. "Yes, that's a fantastic idea, honey," he said, his voice brimming with triumph. "I'll set it up for Tuesday night. It'll be our biggest stream ever." He had no idea what he had just agreed to. He was sharpening the axe for his own execution. Tuesday evening felt surreal. I let myself back into the house and played my part to perfection. I smiled, I nodded, I helped David adjust the angle of the ring light. He was practically giddy, buzzing with self-importance. "This is going to be huge, Anna," he said, arranging his notes. "Showing people that we can have a little conflict and come out stronger. It's authentic. They'll love it." I just nodded, a hollow feeling in my chest. In my purse, nestled inside a manila envelope, were the printed bank statements, my script, my weapon. I sat down at the desk across from him, my hands folded calmly in my lap, and waited for him to press the Go Live button. My heart wasn't racing. It was unnervingly still. The viewer count climbed faster than ever before. 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. David was in his element, a master showman. He welcomed everyone, thanked them for their support, and launched into his well-rehearsed spiel. Tonight, we want to talk about something real. We want to talk about trust. In finance and in marriage, trust is the ultimate currency. He talked about shared goals, about the power of partnership. He even vaguely alluded to our disagreement. "Every couple faces challenges," he said, looking at me with what he thought was a loving gaze. "But what matters is coming back to your core values. For us, that's honesty, respect, and above all, communication." He then delivered my cue, the line I had been waiting for. "Isn't that right, honey? Communication is everything." I leaned forward, offering a small, tight smile to the camera. "It is, David. Absolutely everything." His face registered a flicker of surprise at my tone. And in the spirit of total communication and transparency, I think our 10,000 followers deserve to know the truth about how we really handle our finances. Before he could process my words, I reached into my purse and pulled out the bank statements. I held the first one up to the camera, my hand perfectly steady. "This is a statement from our joint savings account, dated 2 weeks ago. As you can see, the balance was 120,450. A significant portion of that was earned by me, working as a registered nurse." David's face went white. The practiced smile evaporated, replaced by a mask of pure panic. "Anna, what are you doing?" he hissed, his eyes darting between me and the monitor where the comments had begun to fly. I ignored him, holding up the second page. "And this is the statement from today. Balance, 214.37. The difference is this single wire transfer right here." I used a pen to point directly at the line item. A transfer for the full amount, made by David to his parents 3 days after I explicitly told him I did not consent to him draining our life savings to buy them a house. I finally looked away from the camera and met his horrified gaze. He didn't communicate. He stole. The chat exploded. He fumbled for the mouse, desperate to end the stream, but I wasn't finished. I looked back into the lens. "My husband, the financial influencer, is a thief. I have filed for divorce, and that is the honest truth." I stood up, pushed my chair in, and walked out of the room, leaving him sitting alone, bathed in the unforgiving light of his own creation. I didn't wait around for the fallout. I walked straight out the front door, got into my car, and drove away without looking back. I could hear his phone begin to shriek through the open window before I even reached the end of the street. The digital wildfire was faster and more brutal than I could have ever imagined. Within an hour, clips of the stream were everywhere. Couple Goals an hour ago had become the David the Thief by midnight. His subscriber count, which he cherished like a child, was in freefall. His comment sections, once a sycophantic echo chamber of praise, became a digital pillory where thousands of strangers gleefully shredded his reputation. Every lie he had ever told about integrity and trust was thrown back in his face. He had built his kingdom in the court of public opinion, and in that same court, he was tried and convicted in a single evening. His attempts at damage control were pathetic. He posted a tearful apology video claiming there was a misunderstanding, but no one bought it. The bank statements were undeniable. His parents called me, screaming about how I had ruined their son's life. I simply said he ruined mine first and blocked their numbers. My lawyer was ecstatic. The viral video was Exhibit A, an irrefutable public confession. In the divorce proceedings, David was a ghost. The $127,450 he had stolen was awarded to me entirely from his share of our marital assets. After selling the house and paying the legal fees, he was left with next to nothing. His career as an influencer was over. His name was a joke. The last I heard, he had moved into the spare bedroom of that brand new house his parents had so desperately wanted. Their golden child had finally come home, not as a conquering hero, but as a disgraced, unemployed dependent. They had gotten their house, but in the process, they had lost the one thing they truly valued, their source of pride. It was never just about the money, it was about the truth. For years, I had been a silent partner, my contributions erased, my voice ignored. He and his family operated in a private world where their narrative was the only one that mattered. By making the truth public, I took that power away from them. I didn't just reclaim my money, I reclaimed my story. Today, life is quiet. I have my own small apartment. My work as a nurse feels fulfilling instead of just draining. And my future is a blank page that only I get to write on. He wanted to be an influencer, to have his voice heard by thousands. In the end, he was. But the story they all heard was not the one he wrote. It was mine.